Today, we're going to take a journey into a part of the internet that's usually wrapped up in mystery and, let's be honest, a lot of fear, the dark web. But I want you to forget all the sensational headlines for a minute. We're going to peel back the layers using cold, hard data to see what's really going on in this hidden digital world. All right, let's get into it. But first, let me just ask you this. What if your entire digital life, your social security number, your bank account logins, your most private info, what if it was all for sale for less than the cost of a pizza? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? Well, as we're about to see, this isn't fiction. This is the reality of a booming and very real underground economy. Okay, so to really get what the dark web is, we first need to understand where it fits in the big picture of the internet. The easiest way to think about it is like an iceberg. What we see floating on the surface is just a tiny, tiny fraction of what's really hidden underneath the water. So what you and I use every single day, Google, social media, news sites, that's called the surface web. And get this, that's only about 10% of the entire internet. The other 90%? That's the deep web, and that includes everything behind a login or a paywall, like your email inbox or your online bank account. The dark web is a very small, very intentionally hidden part of that deep web. So here's the most important thing to remember. The dark web is a hidden network you just can't get to with a regular browser like Chrome or Safari. You need special software, and the most famous one is the Tor browser. Tor works by basically bouncing your internet connection through a whole series of encrypted computers all over the world, which makes it nearly impossible to track who you are or where you're from. It's a digital space where anonymity is everything.
All right, now that we know what it is, let's try to get a handle on the scale of this thing. Just how big is this hidden digital space? Who's using it? And what are they actually doing in there?
And this is where things get really fascinating. The dark web is a minuscule, almost insignificant corner of the internet. It makes up just 0.01% of the whole thing. It's like a digital speck of dust. And yet its influence on cybercrime and the global economy is just massive. It's the classic case of a small dog with a very, very loud bark. So who's actually logging on? Well, as of early 2025, the Tor network, which is, again, the main gateway to the dark web, has over 3 million daily users. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire population of Chicago logging on every single day to browse the web in complete anonymity. Now, take a look at this. This chart shows us where these users are coming from. And you might be a little surprised to see Germany at the very top of the list with a whopping 2.2 million daily users. That is more than 4 times the number of users in the United States. So why Germany? Well, it could be a lot of things, maybe a mix of the country's strong privacy laws and just a general cultural distrust of government surveillance. So what are these millions of people doing on the dark web? Well, despite its reputation as just a place for illegal drugs, the data actually tells a very different story. You can see right here, the 2 biggest activities are illegal file sharing and digging through leaked data. Together, they make up almost 60% of all the content. In fact, drug-related stuff, it accounts for a surprisingly small 4% of the total. And this brings us to the real engine of the dark web. It's illicit marketplaces. And I want you to forget any images you have of shady back alley deals. These are slick, professional-looking e-commerce websites that have basically copied the Amazon playbook to create this huge, thriving underground economy. And we're not talking chump change here. In 2024 alone, these darknet markets pulled in over $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. And that's just scratching the surface, That number doesn't even count all the other cryptocurrencies or the separate fraud shops out there. The amount of money flowing through this hidden economy is just staggering. Hey, remember that question I asked you at the very beginning? Well, here's your answer. Just look at these prices. Your U.S. Social Security number can be bought for $1. Your entire identity, what they call a FULS, that's your name, address, social, bank details, the whole shebang, it goes for just $100. This is a marketplace where you are the product. And I'm not making this up. A 2025 report from DeepStrike found that a mind-boggling 65% of all items sold on the dark web have to do with identity theft. We're talking passports, credit cards, social security numbers, you name it. In this hidden economy, identity theft isn't just a crime, it is the main event. So you're probably wondering, how do you get a bunch of criminals to trust each other with their money? It's actually simple. You just copy all the best features from legitimate sites like Amazon or eBay. I'm talking about escrow services to hold the money, vendor ratings and reviews, dispute resolution. They even have 24/7 customer support. It is a bizarro world Amazon where you can buy stolen data with the same confidence as a new pair of sneakers. Of course, none of this would even be possible without a way to pay for everything anonymously. And that's where cryptocurrency comes in. It's the financial lifeblood of the dark web, letting people buy and sell all this stuff without leaving a paper trail. For the longest time, Bitcoin was the undisputed king on the dark web. But then law enforcement got a lot smarter and started getting really good at tracing Bitcoin transactions. And that's when everything changed. Back in 2016, Bitcoin was used in 97% of all dark web transactions. By 2024, that number had absolutely cratered to just 12%. So where did all that activity go? Well, as you can see here, it flocked to privacy-focused coins like Monero. See, unlike Bitcoin, which has a public record of every transaction, Monero is designed from the ground up to be completely anonymous. It automatically mixes transactions together, making them untraceable. It is the perfect currency for a world that runs on secrecy, and a perfect example of this constant cat-and-mouse game being played out. But the story doesn't end there, because for every move these criminals make, there's a countermove. And in this case, that countermove is a massive, coordinated global crackdown by law enforcement agencies who were determined to shut these networks down for good. Just take a look at this timeline. It's like a highlight reel of law enforcement's biggest wins. From the takedown of Hydra Market, which handled over $5 billion in transactions, to the more recent shutdown of Archetype Market, the message from authorities is loud and clear. The dark web is not a law-free zone. And we're not just talking about shutting down websites. These operations have real-world consequences. In May of 2025, a huge international sting called Operation Raptor led to the arrest of 270 different people. These are real individuals now facing serious jail time, and it's a major disruption to the entire criminal ecosystem. And here's the really smart part. Law enforcement isn't just going after the big marketplaces anymore. They're also targeting the critical infrastructure that keeps the whole system running. For instance, in 2024, they took down a major payment processor called UApps. The result? Fraud shop revenues were cut in half, literally overnight. It's like taking out a key bridge and watching the entire supply chain just grind to a halt. So where does all of this leave us? Well, we are right in the middle of a high-stakes digital chess match. On one side, you have law enforcement getting smarter, more coordinated, and more effective every single day. And on the other side, you have this incredibly adaptive criminal underworld that's always looking for a new way to stay one step ahead. So the big question is, who's going to win? The data definitely suggests that the dark web is on the ropes, but it is far from being knocked out. The final chapter in this story? Well, it hasn't been written yet.